it would be unfair to not go into the next game and allow Shedeur that opportunity, albeit a different team, certainly at home. There's no guarantee that, the same players will be playing this game, but it's the closest you have, and we owe it to both players who have really handled it well and have competed at a high level.
Unfair. That's the word Todd Monken chose. Out loud, on the record. Feels like a nice word, a fair word. So here's the question before we go any further. Is this actually Shedeur Sanders finally getting a fair shot? Or is Todd Monken just really good at sounding fair on camera? Comment your verdict now. I'm answering it myself at the end.
Yeah, I think this is for optics. Look, it's been a split since April, since voluntary minicamp, except for one day. And that's the day that he didn't have a good explanation for. It's also the day that was probably Deshaun's best day.
And there's the record scratch. One analyst says fair. Another says it's been rigged since April, with one very convenient exception.
Well, when we practice against Buffalo, we will give both of the quarterbacks opportunities with the ones against the Bills. Shedeur will start against the Bills. Deshaun will play in the third quarter and Dylan play in the fourth. So it just flipped.
That's the actual plan, straight from Monken. Shedeur starts. Watson gets the third quarter. Dylan Gabriel gets the fourth. Sounds simple enough, until you realize they're reversing the order from the first preseason game. Watson got the first half against the Bears. Sanders got the leftovers. Now it's flipped. So let's actually get into it, because unfair is doing a lot of heavy lifting for one syllable of a word. According to the analyst breaking this down on that panel, there was one day where the reps tilted hard toward one guy, without a clear explanation given, and that day happened to be the best practice Deshaun Watson's had all camp. Ask yourself how many times in your life a coincidence has been that convenient and actually been a coincidence. Quick context for anyone just tuning in. This quarterback competition has technically been going since April, and this same analyst has been tracking it closely since then, describing it as split for most of the summer, with that one notable exception. And look, credit where it's due. Monken didn't have to say any of this out loud. He could have just quietly split the reps and let reporters guess. Instead, he stood at a podium and used the word unfair, on purpose, knowing exactly how that word would get clipped, captioned, and turned into 1,000 different reaction videos by dinner time. Say what you want about the man's quarterback decisions, but his media training is immaculate.
So, Jason, if this is a dog and pony show, just for optics, to say, hey, we gave both of them a chance, are you handicapping your football team if you already know who your one's going to be, and you're not giving him every single rep to get better?
Dog and pony show, not my words, this analyst's words, from a show that tracks every single Browns practice. And it's a fair gripe, because if you already know who your guy is, splitting reps down the middle isn't fairness. It's just a slower way to develop your actual starter while everybody watches a fake competition play out for the cameras. Think about it from a pure football operation standpoint for a second, ignoring all the feelings. If you're the coaching staff and you're confident Watson's your guy, and if reps really have been split roughly evenly most of the summer the way this analyst describes, that means your actual week one starter is getting half the practice reps he'd normally get to sharpen timing with his receivers, half the live snaps to build chemistry, half of everything. That's not a neutral decision. That's a decision with a real cost attached to it, paid for in September, all in the name of a competition some people believe was already decided back in the spring.
I think 10 days ago it started to flip. And I think 7 months ago, Monken made up his mind unless he was overwhelmed by some change of circumstance or some other way. And I think it's always pointed to next Sunday or Monday.
7 months ago. Let that sink in. Not 7 weeks, 7 months. That's this analyst theory, not a confirmed fact, that back before OTAs, before training camp, before a single competitive rep had even been thrown, Monken had already made up his mind, and everything since has just been due diligence for an audience. If that's true, it changes the entire meaning of this competition. And if that theory is true, think about what it actually means for Shedeur walking into Thursday's game. He's not just playing for a job, he's playing to overturn a decision that may have been leaning one way since before he even reported to his first training camp practice. That's not a level playing field. That's a rookie trying to win an appeal against a verdict some believe already came down months ago. It's worth saying plainly though, Monken himself insists he hasn't decided anything yet, and the Browns have not named a starter. This is one analyst's read of the situation, not a confirmed team decision. There's a version of this where you feel for Todd Monken a little too if you squint. He's not the guy who negotiated Watson's contract. He's not the guy who traded the draft capital to get him. He's just the coach who inherited the fallout and now has to manage a quarterback competition where the financial answer and the on-field answer might not be the same person. Saying unfair publicly might genuinely be him trying to buy Shedeur one more real look before the business side of the building makes the call for him anyway.
I'll say Deshaun Watson is going to have the thumb on the scale for him because of how much money they've put into him and how much capital, blood, sweat, and tears have gone into waiting for him to be healthy and full, mature, and clear of all his past and his problems
thumb on the scale. Same phrase, different show, different host, nobody coordinating with anybody. That doesn't prove anything by itself. Two people can independently reach for the same lazy metaphor with either of them being right. But it does tell you this storyline has officially entered the NFL media bloodstream, and the real question is whether the Browns' actual decisions end up backing it up. And it's not just a vibe either, there's an actual paper trail behind it. Watson's been in Cleveland long enough for the front office to have watched him get hurt, watched him sit, watched the suspension, watched all of it, and they're still giving him a major opportunity to reclaim the job at 30, turning 31 in September. From the outside, that's what this looks like. An organization heavily invested, financially and otherwise, in seeing Watson succeed, hoping the tape gives them a reason to feel good about the money that's already spent.
I'm thinking about, we gave an individual guaranteed money, $230 million, that has missed almost the last 2 seasons. So I have money that's been paid out, a lot of it, and this year he's making $46 million. If he's healthy, he can go, he gonna start, come hell or high water. Because I'm paying him a abnormal amount of money for a quarterback that has given us what most would consider nothing from that said position.
$230 million guaranteed, and roughly $46 million in compensation this year alone. That's not a rounding error, that's a mortgage on a small country. And nobody in that building is walking away from that investment quietly just because a rookie had a good Thursday. Funny how unfair never seems to apply to the guy actually holding the bigger paycheck. Here's the uncomfortable math nobody wants to say plainly. If Shedeur has a great game against Buffalo, best case scenario, he's earned himself another audition. If Watson has a mediocre game against Buffalo, worst case scenario for him, he's still probably the guy in week 1. Because you don't bench $230 million guaranteed dollars off one bad preseason quarter, any more than you'd return a car because it stalled once in the driveway. The bar for Shedeur to actually flip this is enormous. The bar for Watson to keep his job is basically underground. Here's the part that should worry Shedeur fans more than any of the theater talk, though.
I always thought there was a thumb on the scale, and when the Cleveland Browns are opening up their season at Jacksonville and then at Tampa, you know, where Baker's going to be gunning for whoever is out there, I kind of feel like they're going to want a more veteran, steady hand just to see what they have and who they have in Watson.
Jacksonville in week 1, then Tampa Bay in week 2. Both teams that would love nothing more than to embarrass a rookie quarterback right out of the gate. So even if Shedeur torches the Bills this week, there's a real argument that the Browns still play it safe to open the season, because fair opportunity in preseason and trust a rookie against real bullets in September are two completely different conversations. And Baker Mayfield, of all people, is waiting in that week 2 matchup with Tampa Bay, the guy Cleveland eventually moved on from, watching from the other sideline, while the Browns try to figure out their quarterback situation for the 100th time this decade. If you wrote that into a movie script, somebody in the writer's room would say it's too on the nose.
Deshaun Watson in the third quarter against maybe second stringers for the Bills is going to look good. Let's be honest.
And there's a wrinkle nobody had when the story first broke. Monken has since said that if Thursday's joint practice against Buffalo's actual starters shows the coaches enough, a lot of veterans on both sides might not even play in Saturday's game at all. So there's a real chance Watson ends up facing a very different level of competition than Shedeur does in the first half, whether that's backups or just a thinner Buffalo lineup once the joint practice does its job. We genuinely don't know yet, and neither does Monken. Picture it Friday morning. If Buffalo's rotation does thin out by the third quarter, timelines are going to be full of Deshaun Watson looked great clips, earned against whatever is left of Buffalo's lineup by then. Meanwhile, Shedeur's every incompletion against Buffalo's real starters in the first half gets circled, zoomed in on, and turned into a 15-minute breakdown by 3 different panels. Same game, potentially very different degree of difficulty, and somehow it'll still get graded on the same curve by Monday morning. So here's my answer to the question from the top. Is this a real, fair shot, or is Todd Monken just good at saying the right word in a press conference? Honestly, both things are true at once. Shedeur genuinely is getting the start, genuinely is getting the first half, and that part isn't fake. Whether it's against Buffalo's full starting defense is still an open question, as we covered. But fair and leaning one way aren't opposites. You can hand a guy a real opportunity while the organization still has a plausible motivation to want a specific outcome. Everything in this reporting, from the April split to the 7-month theory to that thumb sitting comfortably on the scale, creates the appearance that Watson has the organizational advantage. That's not proof the decision is final. Monken himself says he hasn't made one yet, and the Browns haven't named a starter. But it is a pattern, and Shedeur's job this week is to make that pattern a lot harder to defend. None of that means Shedeur shouldn't go out there and try to blow the whole plan up anyway. Rookies have ruined tidier front office plans than this one before, and if he goes out against Buffalo's ones and makes it genuinely impossible to hand the job to Watson with a straight face, all this 7 months ago talk turns into a fun little footnote nobody remembers by October. That's exactly why Thursday still matters, theater or not. Somebody still has to go out there and actually play the game. All right, that's where we're at. Drop your verdict below. Fair shot or scripted theater? Smash that like button, subscribe so you don't miss what happens Thursday, and go argue about this with the one friend in your group chat who still thinks this competition is a coin flip. See you in the next one.